Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. Hey, so it's been 10 days since I got the Boox Tab XC in my hands. I've done about 7 or 8 videos on it so far, calling out certain features, a few hacks, some tips and tricks and those types of things, and answering viewer questions. So if you would take a chance to go back and watch those videos, and also if you like what you've been seeing here, or if you like what you see in this video, please take a minute to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel and will help me to grow and to be able to do more videos like this. So 10 days in, what do I think of the Boox Tab XC? So I've got several pros, I've got several cons that I want to cover in the video now. So the first pro that I wanted to bring up is just obvious from the size of the device. It shares this with the Boox Note Max, and that's that it's a 13.3-inch device. When they first came out with a Remarkable Paper Pro, I loved that device. I still do love that device because of the screen size, almost 12 inches. And it's just a joy to have that much real estate to write on. It gives you a lot of freedom. You don't feel like you're cramped. You don't feel like you need to write really tiny. It's just a joy to use a device that size. And with this one, with all the other features of the device as well, the color, the bunch of other stuff that I'll get into in the pros here. It's just a joy to use. And I know I use that phrase a lot, but it really is a joy to use with just all that wonderful real estate. The second thing is the screen. So, I made a comparison in a couple of videos ago between the Boox Tab XC and the Remarkable Paper Pro. And while the Remarkable Paper Pro does a really good job of certain colors, yellows and reds and those types of things, that maybe the Boox is a little bit more muted on, I really do think that the Boox has the better color representation overall. And, especially, if you crank up the front light, or if you take it outside in the sunshine, or if you're just in a well-lit room, the color is just really, really good on this device. The screen is just really, really good on this device. And in my office, where I use it most of the time, it's a very well-lit environment. And I find that with most other front lit devices, I typically use the front light. On this one, I've gotten to the habit of actually turning it off when I'm at work and in the office. So that's a first for me. The third pro is also related to the screen, but one thing that I just don't really notice much on this device at all is ghosting. Compared to the Note Air 4C, which I do see a significant amount of ghosting on, even though they both have Boox Super Refresh or BSR, I hope I said that right. It just seems like the Tab XC does a much better job with ghosting. I don't even realize that it's there. I think I posted a video where I was showing some YouTube videos, and you can see it in those types of situations. But just in your day-to-day use, taking notes, or, for me, I use Outlook and Teams and, those types of things that Microsoft to do. I just don't notice the ghosting. I'm sure that it's there. Maybe I've gotten used to it, but I really do still notice it on the Note Air 4C, but not on the Tab XC. Number four on the list of pros would be performance. So it really feels snappy. It's got quite a it feels like it certainly is faster than the Note Air 4C. It's not a significant difference. It's not like the Note Air 4C is sluggish or anything like that, but it does seem snappier than the Note Air 4C. Especially, I use a very large PDF file. It's over 5,000 pages that sometimes I keep my notes in, and that's how I organize those things. And I'll talk about that in another video because I think I'm changing what I'm going to do with my organization. But it's faster in opening and closing that file. And just overall, it's got a much snappier feel than the Note Air 4C. Number five would be the premium look and feel of the device. It is really well made. It's a beautiful device. To hold it in your hand, it does have a little bit of weight to it, but it's well balanced. I love the feel of the device. It's just a very premium product put out by Boox. It's just hard to say enough about it. Just have to look at it and hold it yourself and see. But number six is not really specific to the Tab XC. It's really for most Boox devices, certainly for the Note Max and the Note Air 4C, the two other Boox devices that I have. But it's really the software customization that's available in any type of a Boox device that you have. So the software is complicated. It's got a learning curve to it, but it's worth the investment in time to really dig into the settings, and not only the settings that are available system wide, but also the settings for each one of the apps, especially the Notes app and the Neo Reader PDF app that's pre-installed on the device. There's a lot of customization on that, a lot of ways to make that make each one of the apps function the way that you want it to function. And you just don't get that in a lot of other devices to the degree that you get it with the books. Like I said, it's a little complex sometimes to learn, but it's really worth the investment to get to know it. So number 7 ties into that books customization, but it's really the features that are available in the Notes app on the Boox device is extremely valuable to me in how I organize. For example, the use of outlines. I mentioned that 5,000 page PDF document that I use. I think I'm moving away from that because I'm moving more towards the books organization method, somewhat Supernote organization method as well. But for books in this video, I'll talk about this. I organize everything in that PDF document by subject and then by sub class, and then I have note pages for each one of those. In the Boox devices, I can just simply have one note, one long note, and use the outline feature and keep track of and jump between the different sections in there, just like I do in my hyperlinked PDF file with a lot less headache. It's just much easier to use than, and it doesn't have all the limitations of the PDF file. The PDF file is going to run out one day. I'm going to run out of space and have to copy it and start a fresh one. With this, I don't think I'm going to have to do that unless there's some file size limitations in the Boox Notes like there is in Supernote. But that's a huge piece. The tags feature, I really love that. They could make it a little easier to manage the tags. You have to kind of dig into the menu system to get in to see your tags, but searching the tags is really easy to do. And if you're like me, I use action items. When I take notes, I'll highlight something, I'll circle it or lasso it, and then I'll make that a tag just to let myself know that I've got something I need to follow up on. And then I can easily go and search for those specific tags and easily see what I need to go back and either put onto my Microsoft to-do list or some other organization or action method depending on the situation. Hyperlinks and creating links between notes or web pages or other documents is a very powerful feature of the Boox and the Supernote device. I'll say that as well, although we're not talking about Supernote. The Boox device, if I could wish for one thing that they would change, when you when you show the name of the link and of course the little link icon, they put the link icon below the name, and if you're using ruled line paper, it takes up 2 rows basically. That's the only thing that I wish that they would change, but the link feature is extremely powerful and I do use it a lot. So when I take notes at work, I often have to insert images, especially if I'm out of the home office where I work. If I'm out in the field in other states or whatever and I'm visiting different locations, I often have to take pictures. And although I can't take pictures with the Boox device, I can send pictures over to the Boox device and then link it to a note, or I'm sorry, insert it into a note using the insert function. So that's really valuable. Also, if I'm in a meeting where I really want to be engaged and I don't want to be taking a lot of notes, inserting a voice recording of the notes is an extremely handy feature as well. Handwriting search on the Boox is a tremendously good option. It's a little slow. I wish that it would index the searches like the Supernote does, but it doesn't. So when you do a handwriting search, it is a little slow, but it's there and it's available to you. If you have a ton of notes like I do and you need to do a search, at least that functionality is there, and I appreciate that. And then last on the notes features that I wanted to highlight here is the ability to import your own custom templates and have it truly be a template. One of the frustrating things with the Remarkable devices is that if you don't want to bring in your own template as a PDF file, if you want to make it a native template on the Remarkable, you have to put it into developer mode. You have to get third-party software in the most, for the most part, and import those templates that way. And then they go away once you get a software update and you have to go through the whole thing again. The Boox devices are really good about allowing you to take a PDF if you wanted to bring in a PDF and import those as a template into the device, a native template into the device. And that's really love that because it doesn't treat it like a PDF, it treats it like a native notes file in Boox. So number 8 would be the keyboard case that's available. I know this isn't specific to the Tab XC. It also works with the Tab, or I'm sorry, with the Note Max. But I really love the keyboard case. I like to carry it around. It's very, it's trim and lightweight for what it is. I mean, it's certainly not a featherweight. It does add a little bit of weight to the device. And it does require a little bit of a hack to make it to where it's not going to damage the screen of your device, or at least the perception that it's going to damage the screen. I don't know if it actually would, but I covered in another video, and so did a bunch of other reviewers for the Note Max, that the keyboard case is very sloppy in that the keyboard and the screen of the device uh, are it's very loose, and they can rub up against each other because there's a lot of play in that. I did post a hack to fix that. It's in another video. You can go back and watch that, but it really took the play out of there, and it really made the keyboard case a very good option for me to carry around the device in. Number 9 would be the integration that Boox does with OneNote. So they do a really good job of the writing experience in OneNote is very fluid. It's very low latency. It's pretty much real time. I mean, I haven't looked to see if I could perceive any latency. I just know how I feel about it. And my perception of it is that it works really, really well. There is a little bit of a delay when you're writing in OneNote. You get an initial look at what that's going to look like, but then when you tap the screen, it goes into its final, I guess, what it's going to look like finally. And it usually comes out a little bit darker, a little bit more defined once you tap the screen, but certainly very usable. No reason that you could not use OneNote. I have been using OneNote for some circumstances. Most of the time I use the Notes app that's built in, or I annotate PDFs in Neo Reader. But when I have to use OneNote, or when I prefer to use OneNote, it's great to know that it's there and it really does work well. Number 10 is that, hey, the Tab XC, because it's a device, they certainly wanted to make it a good Android tablet, and it really is a good Android tablet with an e screen, of course. So you're not going to get the video experience that you would get with maybe a Samsung Galaxy or an iPad or anything like that. But if you just wanted a device for reading, some, browsing, some productivity work, and even some light YouTube videos. If there's not a lot of, motion on the screen in YouTube videos, I find it perfectly acceptable to be able to, consume some media in that way. Now, if you're watching, some kind of a movie or action packed, you're going to get a lot of ghosting. There's going to be a lot of artifacts on the screen, and it's not going to be a good experience for that, but it is very usable for just hey, videos like this. If you're going to watch a video like this, it's an extremely good experience for that. All right, so those are the pros that I wanted to point out. Now I wanted to talk about a few cons. So the first con, and probably the most obvious, is the writing feel. So this is a very smooth screen. It's a very glassy, slippery screen. And then the move from a Wacom EMR stylus to an active stylus makes the writings feel very slippery. I would compare it maybe to an iPad. So, if that is a huge deal for you, you're probably not going to like this device. However, it does have haptic feedback with 5 different levels of intensity. I find that level 4 is probably where I feel most comfortable with it. And that does mitigate some of the, I guess, some of the slippery feel. It gives you the impression that you have a little bit of a textured surface on the screen. It doesn't completely eliminate the slippery feel though. I think, you need some kind of a screen protector eventually, or some kind of a pencil tip to put on there. I have tried both. There is not a screen protector for the Tab XC yet on the market, but I did post in another video. It was the same video where I posted the keyboard hack. I also posted that there is a screen protector out there for the iPad Air 13-inch 2024 version that doesn't fit perfect, but it fits close enough that, and it's 15 bucks, I think, on Amazon for two. It fits close enough that it's going to get me by until one is released. And it really, I turned off the haptic feedback, don't need it anymore. The writing is silent, and the writing has just a wonderful textured feel to it. When I say textured, it's very close to the Note Max, is how I would compare it with that screen protector on there. The screen protector is removable, It's got a magnetic kind of sticky adhesive attachment that doesn't leave any, any residue behind or anything like that. But go check out that video. It's a very good option for improving the writing feel. The second con also has to do with the screen, but really from a viewability standpoint. So without that screen protector on it, when I'm in my office environment, my office is very well lit. We have, fluorescent lights overhead that are very bright, and it's an extremely well lit environment. I often find that I have to hold the device in just the right angle to avoid the glare from the lights in order for that not to be a distraction, or in order for it not to make the screen unreadable in certain areas. The screen protector does mitigate that to some degree, but it's something to be aware of. The third con also isn't directly about the Tab XC, but it's about the keyboard case. And really, this would be true for the Tab XC and the Note Max, is that the trackpad on, maybe it's just on an e-ink device in general, the trackpad and the refresh rate on the screen make it kind of difficult to have really good control over your pointer. I mean, you can control your pointer. I think precision control can be a little bit of a challenge. I just prefer to reach up and touch the screen instead. I really don't use the trackpad. The fourth con would be battery life, and I hesitated putting this in a cons list because the battery life is good. As a matter of fact, I did a test. I felt like the battery life was longer than on my Note Max. And so I did a test. I did a video, just a 1 hour. It wasn't, I called it unscientific. It certainly wasn't, a battery drain test that, a professional would use to determine, the rate of decline of the battery. It was just kind of a anecdotal experience that I had. So I did feel like it was better than the Note Max. And so I let them both, I made it where the screen would not turn off. And I ran the same video on YouTube on both devices. I had no background processes running at all. I closed all that, or background apps rather. I closed all that. Both devices are configured identically with the same software installed. And the Boox Tab XC had a much lower, slower battery drain than the Note Max did over the course of that hour. I think I forget what the exact numbers were, but it was something like a 6 or 7% drain on the Tab XC, and it was maybe 10 or 11% on the Note Max. Go check out that video as well if you want to look at the battery life. Number six is a hardware con, in that for some reason on the Tab device, which should be a tablet and not just a note taker, there's no biometric security on here at all, no fingerprint scanner, which is really confusing as to why they didn't do that. We've got it on the, we've even got it on the Note Air 4C, which is a Note device. We don't have it on the Boox Note Max. So it's really confusing as to which devices they choose to include that on. Maybe the device was so expensive anyway, they just couldn't afford the additional investment in the, in the fingerprint reader. I don't know how much all that costs, but it just feels really strange that that was left out of the device. Con number six is also a hardware feature that's missing, in my opinion, and that's the SD card expansion slot. There is not one on the Tab XC. That seems like an oversight for what should be their top of the line premium device. It's the largest device, it's color, it's front lit, it's got all of the bells and whistles except for those two hardware features, the fingerprint reader and the SD card reader. It's really strange that they left that out. Is it a deal killer? No, probably not. I mean, we still do have, a pin security on there, and, I find that acceptable, but not optimal. So that comes down to, after 10 days, how do I feel about the device? Would I recommend the device? And I think the answer to that is yes, absolutely, with some conditions. So there's four conditions, I think, that if you're going to use this device, you have to understand what you're getting with these four particular conditions. Number one is that this is a large device, 13.3-inch screen, and then of course you got the chin on the left-hand side or right, depending on how you orient the device. It's a large device. So it's not going to be one that you're going to carry discreetly. It's going to be one that's very noticeable if you're carrying it anywhere, if you're using it in the office or school or wherever else you take the device. It's certainly a substantial device. Doesn't weigh, it's not very weighty. It's not cumbersome, but it is a large device. So be aware of that. The second is that in a lot of situations where you're not in optimal lighting, whether that be outside in sunlight or in a bright office environment like I'm in, you're going to probably need to use the front light. Sort of the same situation that you would do with the Note Air 4C. Um, I know I have read comments on Reddit and on my previous videos where people say that they prefer their e-ink devices with no front light at all. Well, this one's going to require some front light in some situations. The screen is Kaleido 3, so it's darker um, than what you would find on a black and white device, so maybe a Carta 1300 device. So be aware of that. And if you're good with that, yeah, I think I'd recommend it. The next one is to understand the colors, and this is true of any color ink device, especially those using Kaleido 3. Understand that the colors are muted. I mean, if you're going to buy a device, hopefully you've done your research, you've watched some YouTube videos, you know that this is not a LED or an OLED screen. You're not going to get the bright, vibrant colors that you get on there, but you're going to get colors that's sort of like a printed newspaper or comic book. And they're really pleasant, they're easy on the eyes, and if you go into it knowing that that's what you're going to get and don't have false expectations, I think you'll be happy. And then the last thing is if you go in understanding what the writing feel is going to be like, if you just use the bare stylus on the bare screen, it's a little slippery. You do have the advantage of the haptic feedback, which was designed to help with the writing feel, and it does a pretty good job of helping with that. I said that in my very first video when I got the device 10 days ago, that the haptics are really needed, and they do make at least a psychological impact on the feel of the writing with the active stylus, the Inkspire stylus. Um, but as long as you go into it not expecting an experience like a Boox Note Max or a Go 10.3 or a Note Air 4C, if you go in with those expectations, knowing that, hey, when something is released like a paper feel screen protector or some modification like a pen tip for the stylus, you're going to probably want those if it's released. And if you can get by with that in the meantime, I think that you'll be happy with the device. So overall, I would say that I really love the Boox Tab XC. It's a great device. As you see, the pros that I have far outweighed the cons. The cons in some cases were, probably just some minor stuff, not as big of a deal as you might would imagine a con might be. So if you want the pros of the device, you're willing to accept the cons, I would wholeheartedly say if you got the funds and if you need a color front lit e-ink device, this is a fantastic choice to be able to fill that need. I've been using it for the last 10 days at work. I've been using it at home for journaling. The only place that I'm not using it, I take notes in church on Sunday from the sermons. I do not take it to church only because I'm a little bit, one of those cons that I said was about the screen. You're not going to be very discreet carrying this thing around. So I do carry a smaller device into there. Lately, I've been carrying the Note Air 4C just so that I've got notes that are synced across my different Boox devices. So just be aware of that. But I have been using it exclusively over the last 10 days and have really had a good experience. So anyway, I hope this was helpful for you. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I do try to respond as quickly as possible. If there's anything that you would like to see in a future video about the Tab XC or any of the devices that I have, just drop a note in the comments and I'll see what I can do to accommodate that. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.